Hey folks, Keric here. Today I'm going to be taking a little bit of a look at Dear Esther, which has recently appeared in Steam. Really, where to begin is the question. I guess I should start by pointing out that this isn't really a game. If you're looking to play it, interact with stuff in it, or solve anything, it's going to disappoint you, to be perfectly honest. Essentially what the developers have done is to make a production using an in-game engine, which allows you to move through the landscape the story is set in, quite a nice feature, but not interact with it in more than quite a basic way. However, you're pretty much led by the nose on your journey, with the paths you can actually walk along being pretty rigidly set out, giving an annoying feeling when your way to whatever interesting thing you've seen is blocked by a few small rocks or rather insubstantial fence. Your progress through the world of Dear Esther activates voiceover segments which further the story and sometimes make sense of the various things you'll see as you make your way across the island towards the beacon and the end of the tale. Graphically, the game looks really very good, apart from a few weird things like the flowers and the contents of some of the suitcases being rendered in 2D. This means that as you turn, the flowers also turn to face you, giving you quite a weird feeling of something not being right. I was actually impressed by the game in terms of the way it looks, especially the network of caves underneath the island, which look great. There's a suitable amount of glowing mosses, mushrooms and more to give the caves an ethereal, otherworldly feel, and it really works well. Other interesting graphical features are the reflections on water, which looks perfect, and the inclusion of a proper horizon on the outside sections, which in a lot of games just tends to be kind of a blurry sort of an area, but in this one it is actually quite a perfect horizon. Sound quality is really good, with a suitably I'm Alone on a Hebridean Island kind of soundtrack playing in the background. A lot of haunting sounds and even some vocal work which really stuck in my mind. The soundtrack can also be purchased or downloaded, which is a nice thing really because the soundtrack and the graphics were certainly the strongest part of this production. In terms of story, I have to admit I wasn't really blown away. The story is good, and there are a few nice little touches and surprises in there, but nothing that couldn't really be second guessed. I also felt myself objecting to the number of times the game nudged you about certain things. It's like when someone tells a joke and kind of feels the need to explain it even though you've got it, or continues dropping a hint long after you've got what they meant. It just grates after a while. In terms of emotion, the story really didn't do it for me. I get the feeling there'll be a lot of people claiming they felt a little bit of a tear towards the end of the story, but there really wasn't enough character development for me to make me feel anything for them. So by the time it reached the end of the story, I didn't feel emotionally involved enough. Much as I'd like to say I got swept up in it, I just didn't, and I ended up feeling there was a little bit of pretentiousness going on. Having said all that, I think it was a nice idea, and for a first attempt at this, I think the developers did a cracking job, especially with the graphical and sound side of things. Let's hope they use all the cash they're making from the Steam sales at the moment to come up with something really cool for the next project. If you're interested, the game is currently on sale on Steam and selling for £7 in the UK, about €7 and about $10 if you're in the US or Australia. And that just about wraps up this review of Dear Esther. I've been Keric the Pally. This has been Dear Esther. You have a good evening now.